2, 1. Happy New Year! Thanks for coming out. Thanks for coming out. What up, Whiskey Ginger fans? Welcome back to the show. We got a good one for you today. Like my man Steve Harvey done say, it's Reggie Watts. Reggie Watts, baby. What a talented, interesting, fun, cool dude. I loved having him on the show. Appreciate my boy Reggie Watts for coming and hanging with me. Also, I want to tell you, it's the end of the year. I'm doing 4 shows, 2 nights in Boston. I've said this again. Let's help make the end of the year a good one for your boy in Boston. So any Bostonians that you know or anybody in the New England area, send them out. AndrewSantino.com is where you're going to find those tickets. AndrewSantino.com. Come see me, Boston, the 30th and the 31st. Come party with ya boy. Enough rambling from me. Let's go to the episode.
In here, we pour whiskey, 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 whiskey.
You're that creature in the ginger beard.
Sturdy and ginger.
Like vampires, the ginger gene is a curse.
Gingers are beautiful.
You owe me $5 for the whiskey and $75 for the horse.
Gingers? Oh, hell no.
This whiskey is excellent.
Ginger. I like gingers.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Whiskey Ginger. My guest today is one of my favorite people on earth. I say that for all my guests, but I mean it. Once again today, it is the partial ginger, Reggie Watts.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's
Good
nice
day.
Finally, we're here.
You said that you're partial ginger before the show,
Yeah,
but
I did.
but is that natural? Did you dye it?
It's au naturel.
Au naturel?
My mother is French, and she was French, and I guess she will always be French, and she's a redhead. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
A beautiful ginger French mother.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're fluent in how many languages?
Only French, really. I know chunks of other languages, and I can kind of fake the sound of languages.
That's fun. Do you want to have a conversation in another language that
Sure.
doesn't exist? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know maybe partially sprichst du Deutsch?
Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch.
Ja.
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 Ein bisschen.
Ein,
Ja.
ein bisschen. Ja,
Ja, ein bisschen. Bisschen. Ja, right, bisschen. Es freut mich, Sie kennenzulernen.
By the way, Joe, to my editor, just mistranslate everything that we just said down there and make it make no sense. You know what I learned? The way I learned bisschen was because my teacher would say ein bisschen zu laut, which is a little too loud.
Too loud, yeah.
You're a little too loud.
Ein bisschen zu laut.
Which I thought at one point maybe naming like an album or something, ein bisschen zu laut, and then I was like, that's never
so
going to.
good.
People are never, but
Yeah,
people are going to
you're
Google
right.
it and be like, what is this? What is this?
They're
What's
never
the
going to say it
context?
right. Only Germans are going to get it.
Right.
It's like,
It's
yeah.
a specific audience. I don't want
get
to.
it.
I don't want to narrow it down just for the Germans.
I get it. Just for the germs.
Just for the germs. That's what they're called.
Yeah, that would be a good album.
Just for the
title.
germs.
Just for the germs.
This one goes out just for the germs.
It's like, ooh, ew.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Ooh, we'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
Netflix is like, guys, we have to change that for the germs. We can't go out like that.
Although Netflix these days, would they care?
No, they don't. They don't know what's going
they
on over
wouldn't
there,
care.
right?
No, they wouldn't care. They're just like, whatever. We're trying to figure out how we're going to make money.
I feel like Netflix used to be this very specific, well curated. It was as if like they really, really paid attention. You know when you go into like a shop that has knickknacks and trinkets, but they're somehow organized perfectly.
Yeah.
And now Netflix is like those beautiful soundboards where you're just plugging in and putting into new. I think they're just trying everything and seeing what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's like a modular synth.
Yeah, it's a
approach.
modular synth. Yeah, they're just like, how does this sound? Oh, bad, and then they'll put it in something else.
Well, no more of those, and they just like patch over the hole and say like, no more of those, and then they'll just keep doing that until eventually, I guess they'll just be left with like maybe 6 holes out of
Six
like
holes.
100.
Yeah,
Yeah,
6
maybe.
holes out of what used to be all of the holes.
Yeah, all of the holes. I know. Wow.
But that's
see.
fine.
We'll see. I don't know.
part of life.
It's funny. It's actually an interesting thing to watch and see how everybody's going to figure it all out. Because Disney just got Iger back and all that stuff. And, so handed over the keys to someone else. Is like, I don't like that. I would take them back. Pull the Leno.
Drive my car. Give me back my car.
Yeah, totally. It's
But that's kind of like, that was like what happened Well, I mean, from a surface level of like with Conan and Leno with the Tonight Show was
Yeah.
very much like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Give it back.
Yeah, totally. That was exactly.
Such a weird feeling. Such a strange thing to watch too.
Yeah, I know. And it was really, I didn't quite understand it. And I've met Jay a couple times, obviously years and years. And obviously I opened for Conan when he did his, I cannot do anything except for tour, and it was awesome, and that was really great, and I'm a huge Conan fan. But it was kind of like I remember asking my publicist, I was like, "Is it okay for me to do Jay Leno or whatever?" And they're just like, "No one cares.
Nobody cares.
Conan's over it. Jay's was nothing but a sweet guy to me. So, and who knows the politics of why that happened, who knows, whatever. But anyways, he was always nice to me. And so I was kind of nervous at first. And then Jay was just like, yeah, come on by my car museum and, check it out anytime you want. I was like, wow, this guy's really sweet. Cool.
Yeah, I've heard he's a super sweet guy.
Yeah.
In fact, he still does like those, invites people to those local car shows that he does and has.
Yes.
Warm and inviting is what I mean, I don't know much about any of that world. I mean, this is an odd little piece of information that means nothing to anybody but you and I. But when Corden was here for the first run when he was in the States, and the show was going to get going. Look at this. Look at this. Let's give it up for Carlos. There's that sugar-free Red Bull.
Merci, Carlos. T'es très gentil. Merci. Merci, mec.
Grazie.
Grazie, mec. All right.
Thanks,
it's great
dude.
seeing you. If you need anything, we'll be in here, okay?
We'll be in here, Carlos. Thanks, buddy.
Carlos. He's doing his own podcast right now.
Yeah. It's called Red Bull Walks. He just goes and gets Red Bull for everybody on the street.
I get it.
It's nice.
Saint.
James, when Corden was in, he was meeting with comics, and not to be writers on the show, but just to contribute bits maybe or something. It was kind of vague. But I remember sitting there and I was asking him about the context of the show and with Ben. And he said, you know who I really want to get on the show? Bad. And I was like, oh, who? And he's like, I want Reggie Watts to be the house musician for it. And I was like, really? And he's like, do you know who that is? I was like, yeah, he's fucking great. And he was like, yeah, that's definitely who we're going for. That's who I've wanted from the jump. And in my mind, I thought, yeah, okay, I don't know. I mean, ask him. I don't mean, you know what I mean? I was just like, why? But I could feel that he really wanted you on the show, which was very sweet. Seeing you be a part of the show and years of you on the show, it was just interesting because I've been a fan of you. I love your stuff for years. I think you're phenomenal. But when he said that, I thought, yeah, I wonder if you will do it.
Right.
I don't know, but it was so wild to watch how much he actually really, truly wanted you on that show so bad. I was like, well, what other style would you want if you couldn't get him? He's like, no, we'll do whatever. I'll do what it takes to get him on the show.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, it's a little
cool
sweet
to hear
thing
that.
for you to, yeah, but it was cool to see him kind of, he had it constructed in his brain the way that I think he wanted the show to look and feel, and you were a big proponent of the conversation of that, and I thought, well, I hope you fucking get him. I was like, I hope it works. It's been a fun run, right?
That's so cool. No, totally, it's been a fun run. It's been really cool. Yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, I expected him to want to get out of it at some point,
Sure.
because he kind of. I just got that vibe from him, It's like he wanted to do it for a while and see how it goes, and and then probably move on to something else, And that's kind of what he did. Everything that he said that he wanted the show to do, and how he wanted, or specifically how he wanted me to be involved in the show, all of it was completely accurate. He didn't make up anything. He didn't sell something and then not do it.
A little bait and switch.
None of that. No, he was
good.
just straight up. Here's how I want it to be. This is what it's going to be like, and
Right.
and it was exactly that way. So I'm pretty.
What's the timeline now? You guys are coming to a close.
Yeah, April 28th is the last show.
Wild.
Yeah.
This is what's interesting is as a comedian and a performer, there is that what he said kind of sounds like stuff that we like, where you're like, I do want to get out of something at some point. We only like to do things for so long, and then we also get very bored and we're like, I can't. So it's kind of a blessing where you're like, yeah, because it's probably a great gig, but also you probably want to do something else too and have more time to do that.
Yes.
Do you have a thing that have been working on that you're wanting to do when the show comes to a close that you're ready to go do?
I have a few things out there that we're pitching. There's a kind of a music show project that I'm doing with Eric Andre,
Love.
and Rick Rubin. So we'll see how that goes. It's just gonna be a straight up like music show, me being a host and like having bands play live.
Oh, nice.
But the main number one rule is no playback tracks.
No playback tracks.
No, they have to play live.
Love that.
I will not allow.
Well, that's very on brand for you, right?
Yeah. I just don't. I mean, I get it when you're on tour or whatever, and or like you can't afford a couple musicians or something like that. But I'm like, for this show, figure it out. You're
Figure it
playing
out.
live.
And it's called Figure It Out. You're playing it live.
Yes, it is.
The
It's
name
called,
of the show.
Yeah, Figure It Out. Figure FIO
FIO YPL.
YPL. Yeah. There you go.
Have you guys seen FIO YPL? It's so good.
It
It's
is
such a good show.
really good.
Figure It Out. You're playing it live.
Yeah, totally. It's like, oh shit, I didn't know. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you did.
We sent you the contract. It's in the damn title.
Yeah.
Figure It Out. You're playing it live.
And it's like, oh, I just thought you guys were joking.
No, man. Dead serious.
Okay, well.
The thing I just saw about Ruben that I really, beyond all the history of that guy, what I appreciate and love about that guy, I saw him. They did a piece about his home recently and how minimalist he is, and he was just explaining like why he doesn't like feel the need for junk, and I've tried to hold on to that my whole life because my parents like never had like cluttery stuff around my house, like no trinkets or knickknacks or tchotchkes or whatever.
Yeah.
And I try to do that, but I find as you get older, it gets so hard because you just acquire shit on accident.
People give you stuff.
Yes, and you're like, what
You
the
find
fuck am I
stuff.
doing with this stuff?
I know. I'm the same way. My house gets really like full of stuff because it would be like, here's a gift bag, here's another gift bag, here's another gift bag.
And you're like, oh, cool. And then you're like, oh, and you know what I really wanted to buy? And you buy that thing, and you're like, I don't even want fucking. Why do I buy it? I don't want that thing.
I know. It happens.
sit there.
Happens all the time. I have so many headphones.
So many
sitting around.
headphones.
I'll try to sell them, or I try to find friends to give them to, but it's
Yeah.
like I really got to figure out my shit. But yeah, no. But I think in all seriousness, like I'm excited about moving on, and there's a possible Reggie Watts show that's being generated, which I think would be really really fun.
Yeah.
And Tim Heidecker is involved in that, and so we'll see. But I really love Tim, and I trust his sensibilities, and I hope that we can do something together.
Definitely.
That'd be sick. But yeah, stuff like that.
But it's nice that you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel where you get to just kind of feel like it's nice. It's kind of like I just shot an hour and I'm done with this hour that I'm putting out. And the anxiety is high because you're also like, oh, I'm kind of starting over a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's also like super exciting because I'm like, ooh, what's the next turn going to be? And you're like, I don't know, but I'm stoked to see what it feels like, even if it's taking a little bit of an L for a little while and writing new shit and making new stuff and putting it back out. And,
Yeah.
it is exciting. It's nerve-wracking.
What's it coming out on?
January 10th,
On what?
Netflix.
Oh, cool. Nice.
The people we just made fun of at the beginning of the show.
Oh no, that's HBO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the other ones? What's Showtime?
Oh yeah, I think that's what it is. It is.
And what's the other premium networks?
I don't know if I know any others.
Well, now everybody's a streaming premium network. So
HBO. Yeah, there's a Paramount Plus, which I'm not sure what that is. Disney is just every time that Plus comes on, I always expect it to make a sound or whatever. But that's another company that does that. I can't remember.
yeah, well, somebody else does a click.
Yeah, they do this like weird click.
Because you're so musically inclined, do you see ads and stuff like that annoy you when you hear them and you're like, God, you could make that sound so much better?
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah. Mostly I notice when I can't stand the music. I'm not necessarily saying like this could be better. I'm just like this sucks.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe on something I like, I would be like, oh, I think they could do better. I mean, I like the Porsche sound,
Oh yeah. That's really good. That has a very like that is very good. It's because I feel like it is what Porsche should be for some reason. You know what I mean? Like some people will get that so like. Would you ever do stuff like that if they were like, Reggie, we want you to just make sounds for our company to represent the name of our company?
Of course, yeah. Audio logos.
Audio logos. Baby.
Yeah, I would do that. I love
business.
I love all that stuff. I love audio logos. I love like coming up with theme songs and ad campaigns. Like I have a kind of an advertiser's head, but all my stuff is like, I think it's funny. I think advertising's funny.
It is funny,
and it's just like an interesting gig. But it's also sounds funny, but like it's just so easy because it comes so naturally to me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh yeah, here's the tag, here's the log line, here's the theme,
and everybody's like, oh my God, he did it! He's a genius. Took you 6 seconds in your slides at home.
Just
Sipping
watch
a cup of coffee.
too
One
much.
note on the keyboard. Done.
Yeah,
You're like, oh my God, Reggie.
It's like, this guy's really good. I'm like, thanks, man. I got to go to my next gig. I mean, like, that would be a dream gig. Just me walking in, like, as a consultant, just like walk in and go, that's cool. I don't like that. That's cool. I think you should do this. See you guys later. And then I would love to do that. If that's what I did all day, I would be very
Just
happy.
a pillowcase, and you're like, put the checks in here, please.
Yeah, totally.
Thank
please.
you so much.
Just have someone like walking behind me.
Yeah,
It's like
my check boy.
like a Catholic church or something like that. Just passing around this basket.
Yeah. Pass the basket. All the executives
Yeah,
put money in, please.
Please, you will have to. It's not optional. Thank
By
you.
the way, that should be what it should be like. Sometimes you go to those meetings, and you're like, you guys, I put some money in the basket for me before I get out of here.
Yeah, totally. Just like, I'm just feeling it.
Yeah,
I'm just feeling it.
throw it in. You guys have it.
Yeah, like,
You guys all got it to give, because I think that like with your ability to hear that stuff, you do say it's easy. It is funny, but for the average Joe Schmo, like most people don't think about that, why it clicks, and why like the sound is so like associative and why it works.
Yeah.
But you see it in a different way, kind of like people that are like, what is it, synesthetic? You know that like yeah. Do you have any of that at all? Like, do you feel sound in a different way, you think, than some people? Do you see it in a different way?
I don't know if I don't honestly know if that's true. I mean, obviously, like, you know, you hear something and you're like, oh, that's tasty, you know, or whatever. But I don't know if that's quite the same thing. But I just have I think I just have more of a ear for why things get into your head. You know, like what turns people on, or like what activates someone, like a sound that makes someone go, oh, perk up. And just again, because I was an only child and I just grew up watching TV, you know, like so much TV, and I love the commercials, you know, and was so interested in how they're doing the commercials and the angles and the phrases and stuff. So I think it's so deeply ingrained in me. Plus, I'm a musician, so I think that just kind of just became a hobby, like just a part of myself.
Is there a commercial that stuck out to you when you were a kid that like embedded itself into your brain?
There's a bunch. I mean, there's like a bunch of logos, like, you know, by Menon, you know, like that always comes in, or Nabisco. But there's one, I think it was for a detergent, laundry detergent, and the line was like, ancient Chinese secret, huh? And it was like this Chinese couple running I
remember this.
like a laundromat or a dry cleaning business or something like that. And I was kind of scared to go back and see the commercial, because I think someone had like compiled a bunch of commercials from the 80s or whatever. And I was a little scared. I was like, is this going to be super racist? And it's not. It was actually not really racist at all. Because they're pretty chill. Like they just have a business and they're just chilling, and someone comes in there and, you know, it's like, oh, this is so clean or whatever. Like, yeah, you guys are great or whatever. Then I don't know, his wife or someone comes out and goes like, hey, and they have no accents at all. They're just like American,
That's great.
which I just love. I was like, okay, I was really afraid, because in my mind I was like, I remember their voices just being like a straight kind of flat American accent, but like maybe I was wrong. And then it was just like, oh, hey, it was just like people hanging out doing a scene. And I was like, thank the gods. But, but at the end of it, like, she's like, yeah, here's not Calgon, it was some product, and they're just like, oh, I think we need more of this or whatever. And then the person, you know, the customer is like, ancient Chinese secret, huh? And the guy's like, whatever.
Whatever, man. You'll be back.
Yeah, you'll be
You're
back.
not doing this yourself.
We're still doing it for you, so I guess you'll probably be back if you don't have the time.
It is funny how many of those commercials you do look back on, and you're like, whoa, we got away with that one,
Oh,
huh?
yeah.
Holy
Oh,
shit.
God, man.
Like, you see them getting away with stuff that you're like, I can't believe. Like, I watched that documentary a couple weeks ago about the guy who tried to sue Pepsi because they offered him they put a jet. Did you see this? Do you know about this? It's called like "Where's My Money, Pepsi" or something. It's essentially Pepsi ran this campaign.
When was this?
I want to say it was in the late 80s, early 90s, and it was about Pepsi had Pepsi Bucks. Remember Marlboro Miles?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we'll talk about white trash. I collected it. My dad and every girl he ever dated would smoke, and so like when I started to learn, I was like, you could get a jacket from just smoke, and I was like, so I would rip off all the Marlboro Miles and collect
Marlboro
them.
jacket.
Yeah, and send them in. Yeah, dude, how trash. But Pepsi started kind of a similar campaign. Right? I think it was the same company that did that. They said in the documentary it was like Pepsi Bucks or whatever. But you'd collect them and you would get memorabilia. And of course, in the commercial, they ran this ad that was like for a Harrier jet. You know, like a military jet, and it lands outside of a school. and it says, I think it said like, oh God, I'm so dumb. I just saw, but it was like 1 million Pepsi bucks or Pepsi points or whatever. You know, and obviously they did it in jest, but this kid found out a way that you can physically pay for Pepsi bucks through this catalog. So he found an investor and was like, we could actually, they owe us a jet if we do this the right way.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it was this whole court case about, you know, the legality of the language involved. And of course, you know, Pepsi, you know, flicked him right off, but they did keep trying to go back to Pepsi continually to see like what they could get out of this thing for false advertising. This is what they wanted to sue them.
Yeah.
And that kind of course, was probably the birth of like legal language being heavily embedded into commercials now that you see every commercial is like,
oh, that's right.
you know, it's a brick of legal language at the bottom because, you know, Pepsi said, oh, you get a jet. And this kid was like, I'm going to try to get a jet. And also a piece of me is like, they owe you the jet.
Give him the jet.
Give him the jet.
Jesus,
Pepsi.
you're Pepsi.
You're Pepsi,
like,
dude.
Like, who cares?
It would be a cool PR move for them to, if they were smart, like in retrospect of all these companies, when these things happen, you're like, make it a move that makes you guys look cool again. Give him a jet for TV, pay him, and just be like, whoa, look at this dope thing we did, but it's the only one we're ever going to do.
I know. I mean,
Make it a bit.
Just add that language. Like, it's the only one we're ever going to do. I never really get why. That's the thing that always like blows me away when there's an obvious right thing to do.
Yeah.
And a company just chooses not to, where it's more valuable to have the goodwill of people than to save money.
Yeah,
I never really get why they make decisions like that. I guess it's just more powerful.
Big corporations don't want you to. They don't want to, you know, look like they lost anything. So they're like, you know what I'm saying? Like they have that attitude. They're like, you don't get to beat us at our own game. Like we're tricking people to give us money.
Right.
We're not giving you money. We're the best at that.
We're the con artists.
Yeah, we've been. You don't rob the thief. We've been doing that, man.
You're right. Yeah. So it's pride almost. That sucks.
It is. Yeah.
Whiskey Ginger will be right back.
How do you get shirts so clean, Mr. Lee?
Ancient Chinese secret.
My husband, some hotshot. Here's his ancient Chinese secret. New improved Calgon. Calgon's 2 water softeners soften wash water so detergents clean better. In hardest water, Calgon helps detergents get laundry up to 30% cleaner. We need more Calgon. Ancient Chinese secret, huh?
Calgon helps detergents get laundry up to 30% cleaner.
Hey, boys out there, let me tell you something. A lot of guys want a better sex life. A lot of guys are not having a good sex life, and that's okay. Up to 50% of men have symptoms that get in the way of enjoying their sex, all right? If you want to have a better sex life, you're not alone. Promise you're not alone. Roman is here to help. Roman is the digital health clinic for men addressing a variety of sexual health needs and offering genuine medication that helps you achieve and maintain a strong erection. You want to be strong like bull? You want to be hot as a rock? You want to be tough as a tuft? I have no idea what I'm saying. Roman offers discreet wipes to help you last up to 4 times longer in bed. That's pretty amazing. You just do a little wipe and swipe, and your boy's in a little bit of a day's haze and having a good time staying stiff and lasting much, much longer. In men with low T, getting testosterone levels back to normal can help increase your libido, and Roman offers a testosterone test. They include lab processing with that. If it's appropriate for you, treatment for low T is there for you. At Roman, there's no waiting rooms, no hassle, just straightforward digital experience from the comfort of your own home. This is what I love about this kind of stuff. You don't have to go to doctor's offices anymore because nobody wants to go there. If medication or testing is appropriate, Roman is going to send it directly to your door. Discreet packaging. No one's going to know. Your neighbor Mark's not going to be like, what are you getting? None of your business, Mark. I'm getting something for my business. None of your business to help me last longer. Okay, buddy? You don't need to tell him that, of course. Anyway, to learn more about how you can achieve your personal sexual health goals, go to ro.co/whiskey. That is ro.co/whiskey today and get 20% off your entire first order. Awesome is a word you would use to describe the show Whiskey Ginger. It's also what I would use to describe the box of awesome is awesome from Bespoke Post. I've talked about this many times on the show, and I got to tell you something about these guys at Bespoke. They've sent me a bunch of different boxes. I just got a few. The Slash is what I got recently, which is the knife that's made by Bare Bones in Salt Lake City, this company that makes great handmade knives. They've given me the cask, which, of course, you can brew your own concoction, your own Manhattan, or your own old-fashioned inside of there. But they send you these incredible box of awesome, which is all made from local small businesses, which I'm a big fan of. And so you feel like you're supporting a small business and you're getting something unique. It can be for you. It can also be for friends and family, for whoever you want to buy a gift for. The Box of Awesome, through Bespoke Post, they partners with all these small businesses, giving brands, emerging brands, unique goods every single month. And all you got to do is go to boxofawesome.com, take this quiz, this questionnaire, help them pick the right Box of Awesome for you. They release new boxes every month across a ton of different categories, and every box is valued at around $70. You're going to pay a fraction of that. And you're supporting small businesses, so I'm big on that. Go check them out. They have everything. They have outdoor gear. They have stuff for drinking. They got American barbecue rubs on there in the carnivore. They really do have great, cool, unique, fun gifts. So check it out right now. Get 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter the code WHISKEY at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com. Code is WHISKEY for 20% off your first box. Boxofawesome.com. Code is WHISKEY.
Ginger. I like gingers.
But I think in its I'm stuck on it now, but like I think in its infancy, I think advertising probably was more genuine than it became.
Sure.
Like, it was really like, look at this product I really want to show the world. I watched a thing about the history of Legos, which was fascinating, and how they discovered that they stuck together, because for years they were just building blocks that were stacked.
Right, yeah, because they couldn't snap.
They couldn't snap. And when he discovered snap, and when he when they made this advertisement about how they could snap, the technology was sold to it was like a vacuum company. It was wild.
Wow. For attachments or something?
Yeah, man. And then the original inventor bought it back because they just kind of were just...
They weren't doing anything
They weren't doing anything with it. Yeah, and he was like, well, give it to me back so I can show people this cool toy for kids that I really want to have as like this, dope thing. Kids could like have these imaginations and grow stuff out of, out of nothing. Yeah. Which I think was the original intention. He was like, no, I want people to have like engineer imaginations to build whatever they've ever thought of.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
And now it's,
Well, now it's like predefined. Like here's all the steps. And,
right. You want to build the Death Star. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to go step by step by
step. You have to actually do it, which is cool. It's constructive for kids, 100%. But I mean, I think creative kids are just going to get a Lego set, probably build it right once, and then it just gets thrown into the big bucket, and
totally.
You just build whatever you want.
Well, do you feel like we had, I feel like we had to make more with nothing a little bit sometimes as kids. Did you find yourself? Was music always a big part of your life when you were a kid, or no? Did you find it later?
No, I studied music starting at age 5. So I was doing, crazy. Yeah, I was doing private lessons at 5 till 16, and then and then violin for 8 years in the public school system. So I took private piano. I didn't really play piano in school, and then I took started violin in 4th grade, I think, in elementary school, and then was in a school orchestra in junior high and high school up until about 16.
Is there any instrument that you wish you could play, but you don't have time or just haven't invested in it, that you're like, I really love that thing, I wish I could do it?
I mean, God, I'm trying to think. I mean, I love guitar, and I love bass guitar.
Yeah, sexy. Bass is so sexy.
Bass is I'm going to say it's probably my favorite, although guitar is really cool because you have much more chordal possibilities, although Thundercat would beg to differ.
I was just going to say, yeah.
But
one of those guys is like, what?
Yeah. But I mean, these playing 6-string fucking bass, that's just it's just a bunch of strings with a thick neck, and they're just all over it, doing different inversions and shit. But I've always I tried playing bass, but I don't have the wrist for it. I have really kind of delicate wrists.
Dainty is the good word.
Yeah, dainty, delicate, and kind of delicate hands. And I've always been that way. So I guess I was always destined to be a keyboard player, synth player.
Right.
Because synthesis is all fine adjustments of these little knobs and buttons and switches and stuff like that, and effects pedals, technology, interfacing with technology. So I became, in high school, I think it was 16, I got my first synthesizer, which was a Roland W30, which was the world's first branded music workstation. So it had a 1/4-inch input for a sampler, so you could get a microphone, sample stuff, and then put it on the keyboard and lay it out how you want to. And it had a sequencer, 16-track sequencer in it, and it had a 3.5-inch floppy disk drive that you could save songs on there. And it was a pretty rad piece of machinery for a kid my age. I got really lucky. But and then I played synth bass. So I mean, I have an appreciation for bass guitar. I just think bass is one of my favorite. My bass player that I play with, Hagar, is one of the greatest musicians I've ever played with in my life. And she, every single day, she's so casual. She'll just casually lay down some line, and I'm just like, what are you like she's like can do anything. Like, she's amazing. And my guitar player, Tim Young, as well. Again, I would argue that he's one of the greatest musicians on the planet right now, easily, and that's not even hyperbole.
Did you have, like, for music for the show, did James kind of give you full reign to do whatever you wanted? I mean, truly, was he kind of like, whatever, man, you make your section your section and do what you want to do?
Yeah, he was like, yeah, do whatever the hell you want to do. It was great. I was like, okay. I knew exactly who I wanted. I was like, I knew I wanted Tim and Steve. Steve's the keyboard player, and I told them, basically I said, I want to choose the musicians. I'll put together the band. I don't want the band to have. I was thinking about a horn section for a little bit, but then was like, I think it'd be better if it's more of a rock style formation band. So we just have drums, bass, guitar, keys, and then myself, and that way everything's covered. And told him I didn't want to be wearing suits. I didn't want to. We have on occasion, but not that much, thankfully. I don't want to back solo artists, like be the backing band for solo artists that's guesting on the show. I think it just looks tacky. It's always bothered me since a kid. Like you're watching Letterman or whatever, and it's like, Paul Schaefer is just like going, ooh, yeah, like just laying down the cards. I mean, he's a cool guy. He's a hyper accomplished guy, but you know what I mean? The styles don't matter. You got like this young, sexy, whatever, like solo artist, and they're like singing, and then you've got like these like middle-aged guys behind there, like, hey man, that's groovy. You guys are. I was just like, I don't like that. It just feels a little cheap. It feels like, why didn't you spend the money and get your own band? That kind of vibe. Yeah. So I didn't want to do that. And I didn't want to rehearse. I wanted everything to be improvised. And so I made them make sure that we had a comm system so we can talk to each other and not be part of the show and make decisions on the fly. And and that was kind of it, because all the music on a late night show with a band, when they're playing out or into commercial, or even for an introduction or whatever, or a theme for a game or whatever, they're all like maximum 30 seconds,
I was gonna say
20 seconds,
yeah, probably closer to
10
10
seconds,
to 15, yeah.
Like if it's just a like da 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 da. I mean, it's like 5 seconds, like for like introducing something. And then when we go out to commercial break, sometimes it's variable, obviously, like how much time they need in the show or whatever, but usually at maximum you're going to get like 20 seconds maximum. So in my mind, I was like, we don't need to be rehearsing. Like, why would we rehearse for that?
Right.
There's just no time at all.
Just feel it.
And no covers. And we wouldn't do any covers. That was the other thing I didn't want to do. So I was like, let's just improvise. But then the thing I didn't really realize is that by improvising, we are generating our own material, and so we still have to put it on the sheet that shows all the names of all the bumps that we did for publishing. And then I gave equal publishing to the whole band, so we're all sharing equal publishing because we're all like coming up with shit. Even though in the beginning I kind of generated most of the ideas, then the band started submitting their own ideas, and then now we're logging those ideas, right? Because they were naming them, and then they're registered. And then Tim, the guitar player, he's got I guess you'd call it a photographic memory. He can remember any piece of music he's ever played.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane, his memory. And so he remembers those. So he's writing those down, but then we're also remembering the song. So over time, the band is actually writing, and then remembering this catalog that we're generating. Now we've got thousands and thousands and thousands of bumps, what we call them, and they're just like partial ideas. Like it could just be a groove, could have 2 sections, could have 3 sections, depends. And then we just call them out now. So, Tim at the top of the show will be like, we're going to do whatever, Parkeek, and we're going to do Mother's Shoe, or what, all the dumb names that we come up with. And then that's our playlist. So now because the show's syndicated, now all that publishing comes to us.
Huge.
because it's all of our own music. But I wasn't thinking that in the beginning. It just kind of happened because I was like, I don't want to be rehearsing. I want to sit around and go like, let's rehearse the thing that we're going to do live anyways.
That's so cool to think that you're like, we didn't plan for it, but man, it was a good no plan.
Yeah,
It's a good accidental plan.
Oh, totally. And that's the thing I noticed about, the best thing about being on the show is me making notes about what kind of a show I would like to do.
Sure.
Yeah,
learning.
Totally learning and just saying how does production work? How does the camera guys, where are they moving? What are they doing? What is the who am I thinking of? The gaffers and the grips, and
right?
How do they coordinate and how do they communicate? And what's the director? Spam risk. I love getting calls from spammers.
Answer it, dude. Let that spammer know what's going on.
Listen, I love taking risks. I'm a big thrill seeker. But today I told myself no spam risk during this podcast.
Yeah, you got to be risk averse.
I promised. I said, no way. I'll look at the phone to see who it is, but I will not take it.
You cannot take it.
Yeah.
You can't. No, but that worked out great. I mean, that's pretty brilliant the way it worked out. And kudos that sharing the publishing and all that stuff is a very cool move. I mean, I don't know the world of music if that's standard or if it's like, well, that was just the way it worked out for you. And
it's not standard. It's not standard. I first started in my original project in Seattle in the 90s because I was, my band was, they were kind of like nudging me pretty hard about it, but they were just like, because like the way that it works, it's like you have half the publishing goes to, I think, lyrics and melody. And then the other, I think one half goes to lyrics or something like that. Maybe melodies included. And then the other half is all is music. So what ends up happening is a lead singer who is a songwriter in a band can technically make like 60 or 75% publishing.
Wow.
And then the rest goes to the band.
Right.
Something like that. I know someone listening out there will be like, that's not true.
It's 64%. It's 64%. So actually what you deduce
No, but I mean, it's at least half. Let's say that.
Sure.
You could take half of that chunk of publishing. And for me, it just didn't make any fucking sense. I was like, we're jamming. Even if I come up with a bass groove or whatever, and like a partial melody in my head, and I bring it into the band room, and then we all start jamming on it, and then like finding other parts to do. Even if I'm directing them, like, ooh, what was that chord? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Let's use that for like a bridge or something like that. Even if I'm doing that, everyone's still writing their parts.
Sure.
So to me, it just averages out. So why not just from the get-go just say like we're all in it together? Because I get tired, like I almost get like too emotional about it, but I get tired of musicians getting asked out. I mean, I get tired of drummers getting the short end of the stick. I get tired of hearing guitar players that put so much energy into stuff only like making a fraction of what they should be making, or any artist for that matter. It's always the star people, the people who get like that spotlight, that really have to decide how are you going to use this wealth, because for whatever reason now you have to be the person to decide. So if that person's an asshole, they might just keep all of that shit and be like, hey, that's industry standard, man. I'm just going with the industry. That's just how it is. As a songwriter, this is how it is. Or like a ghostwriter. I have a good book coming out soon, and I'm working with this ghostwriter, and I'm always like letting the ghostwriter make some creative decisions because he's trying to channel me or whatever, but I like to give him that, and he's like, you got to realize this is very unusual for someone to be whatever, like this kind of like open about having you, and I would totally like tell people who he was. I'm not going to pretend like I wrote the book. It's like, I wrote the book, but like I didn't write the book. He mechanically wrote the book, and then he infused his own experience and style to make it my voice. I think that's a huge part of it. I know they're supposed to be ghostwriters, but I just have a personality where I have to give people credit for the work that they do. And I think I got that from my mom. I think my mom is such a hard worker. I think that we probably have similar hardworking parents.
Oh, yeah.
I have a feeling.
My mom, it still works, which is like...
Really?
Yeah, I think it's hard for her to give up. I think she had a moment where she was like, I think I want to stop. And then, we've got... My family and my bloodline is everyone's always been.
Yeah, where'd you grow up?
Chicago.
Oh, I had a feeling. I was like, I had a Midwest vibe from you.
Well, and everybody always had this like, what am I gonna do once I quit anyway? Like, I kind of want to. If I enjoy it, why would I stop? Which is kind of like helpful to be in the careers that we're in, where you're like, you know, if somebody was like, when would you stop doing whatever in comedy? It's like, I don't fucking know.
It's your brain.
I guess
you
when
know what
I
I mean?
die, I guess when my system turns off and it's you're going to go to sleep. And I'm like, okay, then I'll stop.
The last words you say on your deathbed are like, I retire. I was like, now he retires. I wish you would have done that. I know, totally. Finally, jeez.
Jesus, he would never retire.
Wait a minute. When you say retire, you mean expire or retire?
It's the same thing, Mark. Don't do that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a very like it's embedded into. I feel like the joke with my grandmother was like she'd sit on the curb to watch a dog fight. She she wanted to be involved in. She always wanted to go do something or be a part of something or, create or make or it was tough for our family to sit still. We're not sit stiller. So
you have lots of brothers and sisters?
No, but no. I mean, I have only one I'm one of one from my original parents. Then I have halves all over. But
yeah.
But just like my mom's side of the family, everybody wants to do something all the time.
Yeah,
nobody
hustlers.
Nobody is like, just chill out.
Yeah. No lazy bones. My mom was like always fucking working. She was a house cleaner for the base because my dad was in the Air Force.
Yeah.
And we lived off base, but she was a private cleaning contractor, and she was the best. She was always getting calls, so she was slammed all the time, and so
couldn't say no.
She couldn't say no because she was making that money, and she also liked nice stuff. So she would save up and lay away, and she collected Liadro, which is like the ceramics or whatever, porcelain stuff. And she, and our house is like really pretty and like well made, and she cared about she liked fancy stuff, so she worked her ass off really hard. My dad too, he worked on the Ohio Turnpike. He's from Cleveland, and so he. During high school, my mom kicked him out because he was getting kind of a little too aggro, and I was starting to get aggro, and she was just fearing both of us just having
was he a big guy?
Fist fight. He was not a big guy. He was like 5'10", very slight build. He was a judo guy. He was a black belt in judo, or he was a brown belt in judo. But he got sicker as he got later in life with emphysema. He was a smoker, like he and my mom smoked a shit ton, and eventually caught up with him, and he had heart problems, and he got emphysema, and so it just kept notching him down. So, but in high school, he definitely had the energy for sure, but he had the heart attack, so he wasn't as ferocious as I think he could have been. So it might have worked out. The heart attack worked out.
Thank God for the heart attack. Slowed him down a little
Benevolent heart attacks, let me tell you, when you have to have open heart surgery, oh boy.
It sets you back.
Yeah, it does. It really does set you back. If not, lays you out.
Yeah.
But but he was always hustling. He was, working at a meat packing plant. We managed that in Great Falls, and then he was working on the Ohio Turnpike, and he was getting a degree in management. And my mom was working all the time, and so I come from a family of hard workers. And all my mom's family was all in France. They were all paramedics, gendarmes. It's kind of like the military police and the regular police, and farmers and hunters. So everybody in my family, my dad's side of the family. They're all hard worker, black community, Cleveland, Ohio, from Akron, Cleveland Channel area or whatever. And, not a lot of money, but his parents, got their shit together and bought a house, a tiny house, in a black neighborhood in Cleveland. In fact, I visited it recently when I went to see Nine Inch Nails. But, everybody in my family hard worker. Me, on the other hand, I was always just oh, come on, man, I just want to lay on the couch. Just let me do it. But I will say that I do have that ethic on a social level.
Right.
I'm the only one, when I show my schedule to people, if I show them, the month view or whatever, they're just what? Are you crazy? You know, for me, I feel like I do have tons of time. I feel like I'm a lazy. I've always felt I'm lazy. I'm just but
you're not. You're working constantly.
I am working constantly, but I think the reason why I think I'm lazy is because I don't rehearse. So you know what I mean?
But even better.
I know it is better, but when I see my friends I can't go out tonight, I got to finish this thing, and I'm oh, okay, cool, all right. And I'm well, I guess I'm just gonna play video games. I don't know, my friends work so hard around me, and they're just putting in so much time. And I guess my thing is when it's time to do something, that's when I'm working.
But some would say whatever you do during that downtime is your rehearsal. I know as weird as that is.
That's
like,
interesting.
I was trying to
I like that.
explain to a family member, was about our process. I understand that it's hard to conceptualize when someone's like, I do comedy for a living. And they're like, do you? And you're like, I do. I mean, yes, I do. But they're like, what do you do to the bits? People are always like, how do you come up with the bits? And you're like, well, my life is my rehearsal. So your downtime to me is kind of part of that rehearsal because it's where you find it works the best. By the way, if it wasn't working, it wouldn't be working.
True.
So obviously,
yeah, true. You're
obviously,
right.
obviously, those Legos are snapping together.
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
All right.
No, you're right.
Because otherwise, I just feel like there's no right way to do it. I had a friend of mine said to me, he was like, "How come I've never physically seen you pen to paper?" But I feel like you are writing a lot for stage, and I'm always like, because you're never going to be there when any of that happens. I do it on my little time.
Yes.
It's just in my little nooks of time where I find it.
Yeah.
But I know what he means by that because most people in society want to see you do it. That's why they want to see you. I want to see Reggie at rehearsal so we know that they're getting ready, so we know that they're serious.
Yeah.
It's like people like regiment because it makes them feel comfortable, regardless of the product outcome.
Yeah.
That it's the idea of why offices got closed down or whatever after the pandemic because people are like, I want to know that you're there.
Yes.
You're like, yeah, but I do better from here. It's like, I want to know that you're there.
I know. It's like they want to get their money's worth.
Right.
And I get it. Or they don't believe it. Or they, you know what I mean? Like they need some tangible thing that like justifies why,
Or it's like, if I'm going to suffer, you have to suffer.
Oh my God. I didn't even think
went
of it
through
that
it.
way.
You have to go through it.
That's so true. I know. It's so you have no idea like the phone calls that I'll get where like I'll get hired to do a thing. And like I don't know, like an advertisement for something or whatever, and like a computer thing or something, and they'll want a creative call, right? Like producers or whatever. So I get on the call and they're like, yeah, could you or what was it? I think it was for like some awards thing I was hosting or doing music for. They're like, can you send an example of some of the music you'll be doing? And I'm like, I'm an improviser, so I don't have anything, or I mean, I'm not going to put together anything for you for that. Right. But if you want to see what I do, there's tons of examples online. Like you can go online and you can see like there's what you see me doing there. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'll do for you guys. And then you give me some parameters and I'll work within that, and I'll make sure it's within this amount of time. And I'm pretty sure you'll like it. That's probably why you're asking me to do it. But you know what I mean? Like you have to convince. Like people are like they are shocked or they just don't believe that you're going to be able to do that. It's like this is a huge ad campaign. This is a multi-million-dollar ad campaign.
Like, I know.
And you're just going to walk in and just do your thing. Like yeah, that's right. That's what I do.
Yeah. You like me, right?
Yeah, you like me, right?
No, we love you. We love you.
Yeah, totally.
We just want to know that you can do it differently than the reason that we like you.
Oh, my God, that's so funny to me. But what's great is, like, when I prove them not necessarily wrong, but I just walk in and they're like, oh, that was easy. I'm like, yeah, that's why I do what I do. I'm only doing this to make it easy. I'm the type of guy that you walk in, you're like, that was really nice. That was really fun. That's what I'm shooting for. I'm not trying to be difficult. I would never want to do that.
No.
I want to give you exactly what you want, but I also want to give you a little bit extra. And just so you be like, just so you think, oh, I'm glad we worked with that guy.
In here, we pour whiskey.
This episode of Whiskey Ginger is brought to you by Rabbit Hole Distillery and their one-of-a-kind Kentucky bourbon and rye whiskeys. I've talked about these guys for so long now. I want you to jump down the rabbit hole with me. This is Boxer Grail, what I've been sip-sapping on. This is their rye. And, I'm not always a big rye guy, but what I love about them is each one of their bourbons are made from a distinct one-of-a-kind recipe using specially malted grains you're not going to find anywhere else. And they're actually small batch. A lot of people in their price range like to say that they're small batch, but that can mean 1,000 barrels. Who knows? They have 15 barrels or less. You know the quality is going to be there in every bottle because they're not just shuffling out nonsense. They got the Cave Hill, which is the 4-grain triple malt bourbon, the High Gold, that's the double malt, Boxer Grail Sour Mash Rye, and of course the Derringer, which is sherry finished bourbon that's finished in sherry casks. And I want to say this. I've had a lot of people say they've tried it, and they say, oh, dude, I like it, but it's not super cheap. It's like, yeah, it's not super cheap. This stuff is not going to be super cheap because the quality is actually there. For its price point, I think it's extremely competitive. And I dare you to find something that is in this price point that tastes as good as it does in all four of the expressions for the money that you get in a big, beautiful bottle to display on your bar at home. It's worth it. It's a nice sipper. This ain't a mixin'. This ain't something you're throwing a bunch of nonsense mixers into. Sip it as it is. Enjoy it how you want. But really, it's worth it. You should give it a try. All you got to do is go to rabbitholedistillery.com/drizzly, rabbitholedistillery.com/drizzly. Use the promo code RABBIT for $5 off your first order. You can go on that site and you can see where they sell it in your area. If you're not going to get it delivered, you want to go buy it personally at a store near you, you can do at rabbitholedistillery.com. Enjoy responsibly. Drink up. Have fun. Be safe. Happy holidays.
Ginger. I like gingers.
Do you imagine that if you did start prepping stuff, like if you did, you think the work would suffer?
Prepping. It depends. I mean, I used to do a lot of experimental theater in New York. I ended up doing like 5 pieces for the public theater and a couple other things. And those are like hour-long pieces that had other actors in them and so forth. So, but I had a writing partner, and we worked really, really, really well together. Right. So, So, for instance, we would have a weed cookie, sit down, and then I would just see stuff and say stuff, and then
he'd pen it out.
He would pen it out, and then he'd be like, "Well, what color do you see it as?" Okay, cool. That's and cool. How long do you think it would go? Like, it's like, do you think it would be blah blah? And be like, yeah, you know what? Actually, no, you're right. Like, what do you think? Well, I think maybe about that was our writing process, right? And that would only take maybe 45 minutes. So in 45 minutes, we'd have basically an hour-long theater piece. Wow. And then we'd create the skeleton of it, and there was just a bunch of structures, and then we just focused on transitions. So that was the creative part was the transitions.
Right.
Everything that happened that I would be involved in were mostly improvised. And then we would start rehearsing it with the actors, and then we would start defining some things, or he would like make a short monologue for someone to say something or whatever because he was a writer. And it would just happen that way. So I can prepare for things if it makes sense for what the outcome is. Sure. When you're talking about multiple people working together. But even since then, I've just thought about like the way that I would like to create things and the way that I would like them to feel for people involved in the project. And how do I make this the simplest so that people don't have to prepare. They can do what they do in that moment. I'm choosing people that are good at that, but we still get a result that looks like it was rehearsed for hours and hours and hours and hours. Because that's my goal. It's almost like I don't really care about the creative aspects as much because I find that creativity just happens. Right. Generally, if you're around people that you dig, of course, things are going to bubble and things are going to happen. So I'm never worried about that. I just want to make sure that the structure, there's enough of a structure or skeleton that it gives the illusion that it's a very, very well rehearsed thing. And that's what I get off on. I get off on that more than actually creating the thing. If that makes any sense. Yeah. Because I want the end product, someone go like, dude, how long did that take you to make? It's like, a third of the time that it normally does, and I just think that to me is like the reward.
That the whole time you're playing some like beautiful piece with these other talented people, the whole time you're thinking like, I'm getting one over on these people. Yeah.
It's like they think that was like one of the shows that I want to do where I just want to kind of like pick a song that's popular right now, like some hot song that's at the top of the charts, go into a studio and like within a couple hours just make a track that sounds pretty not like it's not a verbatim thing, but in the same spirit with the same high gloss production level. And then people go like, how long did that song take? Well, it took 7 songwriters. It took about 3 weeks, to generate blah, blah, blah. It's like, how long does your song take? It took about 2 hours to make it and about an hour to mix and master it.
It's like
it's already out on Amazon.
But you can buy it. You can buy it right now.
And it sounds just like, what do you mean? It's like the same level of like, Dua Lipa track or whatever.
Sure.
And they're just like, holy shit, how fast? Because I love that idea of like just kind of letting people know that creativity, there is no, I mean, you said it earlier, but there is no right way to do anything. And you can just go for it. Like there's like some things like if you've got a mind that knows an outcome, that can feel an outcome, and you've got the skills, and you pick good people to work with, you can generate stuff so fucking quickly. Like
Yeah.
I would love to generate a short film in like record time, but have it look like something that someone toiled on for months and months and months, but it really only took like a week of shooting. I mean, there are plenty of examples of that. I'm not unique in that way, but there are many examples of that. But I want it to look like it took a lot of energy.
Took a lot of energy, yeah.
To really, like, we sat down in a room with 8 writers and it took forever, it's like
grinding.
Yeah, we ground it out, and it's because I appreciate my friends that work their asses off. Like, I have so many writer friends that work in writing rooms and stuff like that, and I romanticize, like, I'm sitting in a room. Like, if I was in a writing group, I would be playing the role of a writer. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't fully be a writer in that room. I would do my best to be helpful, but the whole time would be doing it, I'd just be like, isn't this crazy? I'm in a writer's room. like I'd be more about like the reality of where I was instead of like actually, no, we're here to make something. Like, oh yeah, no, we'll do that too. But also, isn't it crazy that we're actually doing it?
Yeah. It's nuts that we're making this, right?
I know, totally.
I do feel that way sometimes though. I think everyone does have that. Like when I've done, like I've done a few seasons here and there for Andre's show where I'll go in for Eric's show and just go write stuff and write bits, and then like we helped with Bad Trip and
oh, nice.
There are moments where we'll sit there and we'll be throwing just nonsense into the sky and laughing at it.
Yeah.
And I will take a second and be like, this is so funny that this is what we're supposed to be doing. Because like in the idea of a structural thing that gets put out for people to pay for, to consume, you're like, oh, but the way to get that done is for us to just kind of goof and, nonsensically argue about if flavored pistachios shelled are better than unshelled.
Yes.
Because that'll take 20 minutes, by the way.
That'll
take a long enough time where someone will come up with something because we were fighting about that.
Oh, man, I so feel that. I think in those situations, it's great. That's why I really do look forward to working with Tim Heidecker, because we riff really well.
Yeah.
Like we can riff, but I also have a passion for coming back to the thing that we're supposed to be doing. Like, even though I'm like, all over, it'll be like, so anyway, so when you were talking about, like, I love bringing it back and like advancing, right? So we go in like creative flourishes, come back, put something down, move forward, whatever. Because I do that, to me, that doesn't feel like writing. That's just like hanging out and you're blah, blah, blah. As long as someone's like marking the ideas and like getting them down.
Well, it's almost like you're the, a lot of people have like a trip counselor. When everybody's tripping, there's always like one person that can recenter. If everybody starts to feel like everyone's getting a little too gone, there's always one person that's like, let's focus and chill out. Let's get right back to it. You're like a trip den father or something.
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
Like, I know that we're enjoying this. We also need to center for a second because we're getting, some people are feeling a little overwhelmed.
Yes. I mean, it's so like I've.
Are you the responsible person when you trip?
I'm
with other
kind
people?
of like, oddly, you wouldn't think so, but I really am. Like I mean, I've been on some really heavy ketamine trips.
Yeah.
Where that shit, like, that zeroes you out, man.
Oh,
That shit, like, if you're in a K-hole, like, you're not really, there is no impulse to talk or to create logical structures. Like, that's not the point, right? But I weirdly have this ability, like, let's say it's a lighter K trip, so you're able to talk and stuff like that. Things will get so crazy, so abstract, so fragmented, and I'll still like come back to something we were talking about earlier. And it's,
I don't know how you do that.
I don't. Well, it's a funny thing because I've been doing it all my life. Like since I've been, I mean, it could be a chaotic situation, not even drugs related, or an emergency situation, for instance. If something about, I don't know what it is, an emergency happens, I go, and I get really focused, and I go, and pragmatic.
Because most people are like, I know, like, full panic.
Fuck. And I'll just be like looking at all the angles, going like, okay, where's it coming from? Where's it? How long? When did it happen? Okay, how are you doing? Okay, what do we have? That kind of stuff. I always think in that mode. And when I was a kid, we'd be, I had to like do LSD one night, and I had to like pick up my mom from bingo from like a party that I was at a friend's house, and then like have my friends meet me or meet my friends somewhere else. And so like I just always had this ability to kind of like find the the eye of the hurricane. You know, just find that calm place in the high and just be like, okay, I'm in a car right now, and this is the rearview mirror. These are the side view mirrors. You've done this a million times. This town is a grid. It's late at night. There's low traffic. Let's just go for it. Whatever. I'm not vouching for driving when you're high.
But it's impressive that you can have that functionality, because I was never able to do that. Like I was never. When I'm gone, I feel like I've kind of given myself enough where I'm like, I gotta let this one take me.
Oh, that's beautiful, though.
Yeah, it is. But also because sometimes when I try to center,
yes,
you know, that's when I kind of lose the fun sometimes. And I don't mean fun like, I just mean sometimes that will induce anxiety.
Yes.
You know, when I start to center too much, and if I'm trying to like...
I see. Interesting.
Like I kind of just need to be like...
You're trying to force yourself into something that you're just not naturally wanting to do.
Yeah, my brain is like, what are you doing? Where are you going? It's safer over here.
Yes.
Where we're having a little party. But I try to go back to that analytical or pragmatic part of my brain.
Yeah.
And that to me, that's like a weird machine. It's like I walked in the room and everyone's working. They're like, get out of here.
Before the boss comes back.
You're not supposed to be here, dude. If they catch you, you're in so much shit. Yeah.
Get out of here, man.
Get out of here, man. Yeah, you're in these big...
You're like, hey, what's going on, guys? The guys
we told you.
Like, what happened? I don't know. I tried something I shouldn't have done.
That is exactly how I feel when I don't. Like if I was never good at, like, I knew friends that could even get stoned when we would get stoned and go back to somebody's parents' house, and they knew how to, like hide it or whatever.
Yeah, go to normcore.
I never really wanted to hide it. I would just kind of be like, well, it is what it is. If they know I'm stoned, I know I'm stoned. I mean, I
see.
I kind of just didn't care.
Yeah.
Because I felt there was more anxiety in trying to hide it.
I totally get. Yeah, unless it's. I think the thing that you've made me sprung into my mind is like, if it's not a game, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if there's a game to it, like,
right.
I'm going to be like, I mean, obviously, if you're not doing it, like, I'm just going to show up at the job site and weld some shit, and I'm going to hide that I'm high.
Yeah.
I mean, not that shit, but like, if it's like, ooh, I wonder if I can pull this off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it's that, then go for it. If it's not, then you're going to just be what you've just described. You're going to be battling yourself.
Yes.
And being like, I'm supposed to be doing this. Why am I doing this? You don't need to be doing this. This is giving you a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
And then like just getting in that spiral.
Like when I used to get stoned in high school and I would come back from lunch, I would go with a group of guys and we would go get stoned at lunch and we'd come back. And what I loved, my high school was very like dense. I mean, I think it was somewhere around like 3,700 people in our whole school. Each class was almost a grand. So it was very big. But the hallways were like just dense. I remember how dense they were all the time, like just thick. Yeah. And it was almost this wild dance where when I wasn't stoned, you're like anxiously weaving through people, like missing people. And there was almost this kind of beautiful dance happening of crossing, almost like the streets of Tokyo when people are just so chaotic.
Shibuya,
you're like, how is this working?
Yeah.
But high school was always like that. Like people are frantically going where they need to go, and everyone's trying to make sense of it and just miss hitting this kid. And when I would get stoned, I loved it so much because it became, I felt like I was in a video game.
Yeah,
I was like,
obstacle course.
This is, and you're watching your brain like Terminator lens, like, and section out where I need to go and how quickly I need to step aside. That to me was like the game that you're talking about. I can play into that. That I love. Then I'll just immerse myself into that world. Yeah. Yes. Those were fun. Those were fun days for high school.
Oh my God. That's so funny. I used to always, like when I was in high school, my high school was, what was it? I think it was, I want to say it was like 1,300 kids or like
in the whole school.
1,500 kids. Yeah. In the whole school.
Okay, yeah.
But still like, and I'm not totally sure about that, but anyways, it was big enough, and it was like an old school, American style, whatever, like John Hughes looking high school. Mm-hmm. And so my favorite thing was just cruising down the halls and like, like someone's reaching, up for their lockers and I go in between like them reaching, like going under the door and like just like, fluid movement to try to get to my next class or whatever. And I understand that. And I used to think to myself, like, this is training for the adult world.
Yeah.
Because like if I can navigate this and like make it to my classroom,
I can make it anywhere.
And then when I went to New York, I was like, it's kind of like that.
It is. New York is a constant game of how do I not break stride into where I'm going, but not interrupt somebody else's stride into where they're going.
Yes, yes.
Challenge.
I know. And it's funny, and I know we're jumping all over the place, but it's kind of funny that these things kind of come up, and I'm like, I've always wanted to talk about it, but like, I use that in traffic. Like when someone, like for instance, there's a street at the end of my street where I turn to go to work, and there's a stoplight, and it hooks up to Silver Lake Boulevard, and off of Berkeley. And so like you stop at this light, and oftentimes people are, when they want to turn left, the light is so long, and sometimes it'll skip. It'll turn red for the other ones, and our light will stay red, and it'll turn green again, and it's so frustrating. So I always make sure that I get as close to the center line, the yellow line, as possible, so that if I'm taking a left, people can get around me.
Very polite.
Right?
Thoughtful.
People do not think about that. Like they'll think about what's in front of them, and they don't think about who's behind them. And for me in traffic, because I love driving so much, I'll use any excuse. If someone's like, "Oh, I need to pick up a thing," I'll be like, "I'll take you." Like I just love driving. I'm driving all the time because it's such a game for me to like see like who. Like for instance. This is the first time this has ever happened. I was driving back from work. I was on Beverly Boulevard, and this car put on his turn signal. I always reward people that use turn signals, first of all, because I over indicate. I'll indicate like if I have to get into another lane for a second and move back, I'm like left turn signal, right turn signal, and I also wait for at least one blink because I hate it when someone. They indicate and move at the same time. That's not the point.
Not the point.
The point is to go like. This is where I want to go? Cool. I'm going. So this guy put on his turn signal, and then I did a double flash to say, like, go ahead and move in, whatever. And so he did, and then he did what I've done before, which I didn't think anyone would even give a fuck about, is he did a double tap on his brake lights.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I was like...
Can we continue this? I like this so much.
It is the best. It is the greatest feeling when you get those polite moments in traffic where you're like, "Oh, that was sweet. I just let you do," because it's a game, right? For me, it's like I want to be assertive. I'm going to take it. If someone's being slow as fuck, I'm looking for the gap because I want to get away from them. I don't want them to be in my life. And if they're thinking that they're trying to like punish me by like blocking, whatever the things, I'm like. I am in a very fast car, and I'm an efficient driver. I will be out of your hair in less than a second.
Yeah.
Just let me through.
You won't even know I was here.
Yeah, you'll never even know. You'll never have to raise your eye or ever again, but people will take it as a personal challenge. It's funny, all the psychology in traffic.
There is so much, and there's so many unwritten rules of it, but I do think the language of cars is interesting, what you're talking about. It would be cool if we could create kind of a social norm of like what signals indicated what, because I've always said this to somebody, like, you've seen like I've seen scrolling messages on like inside of a car. Someone has like a digital sign.
Yes.
Yeah. I wish we all had a thing where you could indicate, like as if the car itself could indicate to another car, and without getting vitriol. It's like, obviously there's moments when you want to be like, fuck you.
Yes, of course.
But it'd be better if they were more positive influence, because then it would be more promotional of like, thank you, or something simple and polite. You know what I mean? I think there could be a cool language built around that, because the psychology of driving is, I love driving. I love cars, and I think too. It is from 50,000 feet. It's like 3,000-pound machines of total death and destruction that we have to like video game like high school stone the same way. We have to delicately balance, otherwise a ball of nonsense. You know what I mean? It turns into a Terminator. It's just like we have to be careful. And respectful, but when it works, oh man, it does feel really good.
It's
oddly rewarding.
It's the best. I mean, there's those days where like I'll be like, I really need to get somewhere, and I'm like, I'm gonna hold this lane. I have a good feeling about this lane, and you're holding a lane, and like someone else, because you always do you ever pick a car that you're kind of like, I want to try to stay ahead of this car, so I'll do that a lot, and they'll drive by me, I'll be like, damn it, I'm like, but I'm gonna hold this lane,
holding the lane,
and then weirdly you're like going down maybe like 4 or 5, 6 blocks later, for some reason 3 cars will decide to get in the left turn lane and like a clear lane. I'm like, see you later.
I'm so glad I held my lane.
I know, until I held that lane, man. And and then other times I just practice being calm, because like when you're in a car that's capable of going very, very fast, half of and that's why I like electric cars. Like, I lived with an electric car for so long, because I'm like, well, that power is a responsibility. How do you manage that power? These cars that they're selling now, these electric cars, you know, they're going to 0 to 60 in like, you know, 2-second reigns. And this is a car that anybody could buy if you got like, you know, whatever, you make payments and, you know, get a loan or whatever, you could get this car.
Yeah.
And they're so fast. They're so heavy because they're electric.
Yeah.
So they weigh 5,200 pounds, you know, 5,300 pounds, whatever. Well, you know, obviously gas cars are lighter. But anyways, point is, you have access to this machine. And like you're saying, like you have to use it responsibly. And for me, I call the game inertial management. And so I go like, I have this amount of weight. I have this amount of power. What is this car capable of doing safely? But I'm slightly more on the assertive edge, right?
Yes.
And there are moments, you know, where like no one's around. I got my radar detector going on, and I will just blast for a little while, but there's no one around. It feels safe, you know. Or I'm on a bridge, for instance, like. There's no cop on the bridge, no aerial surveillance, and what I do is I call them light jumps. They're like I've spooled up the FTL drive,
right?
And I just launch, and then I just erase that bridge. Just like just erase
doesn't
it.
Feels so
boom.
good.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, and then I'm gonna make this corner. Oh, it's gonna be real smooth. Oh yeah, nice hug in the corner. Ooh, there's a pothole. I'm avoiding that. Okay, I'm slow down. I'm looking under the cars, make sure there's no feet under the cars, so that no one's gonna walk out. You know, like it's just a constant situational awareness, rewarding thing. I don't know.
No, I love. You're speaking my language. I love it so much. I like it. When somebody asked me one time, like, why I like fast cars, I was like, because the feeling is, it's like, it's responsible aggression. Like I want to. I want to feel it.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it with such conscious ability. I know exactly what it does, and when you learn how to drive quicker cars well, truly you have it's odd how much power you have over it, that you're like, I know exactly the limits to take it to.
Yes.
It's really interesting because my dad's best friend is a huge car guy, and my dad asked him when he bought his first Turbo S, and he was like, you know, what are you going to do with this? You know, my dad is very much like, what would you do? What are you doing with this thing anyway?
Yeah.
And he was like, where would you even go that fast? That's a constant question. People say, where would you even go? It's LA, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And he said the best response, he goes, you pick your spots. And I was like, perfect. You pick your spots. You know, it's not a long-term thing. You pick your spots.
Yes.
And when he said it was with such glee. I knew that he was like, yeah, I know exactly where my spots are. I was like, me too. I know exactly where my spots are.
Man, I'm so feeling that. And also, LA is a place where you have those spots.
Oh yeah.
Like people don't really understand when I say that LA is my favorite city. It's if you're a driver, LA is where you want to live.
Yeah, oddly enough, it is.
Weirdly, and everyone's like, no, because the traffic's like terrible. Like, no, you got to know traffic. You got to read it, and also you got to know when to chill when traffic is what traffic
is. What it
is.
Just
chill, put on fucking cruise control, and like just chill and like listen to a podcast or whatever, you know. But I've had the most fun driving. Like I remember I met with like when I first started, kind of came out as a car person.
Yeah. When I came out to my friends and family as a car guy, it was shocking. But
it's like, I like cars. It's like, good for you. That's it. It's like, no, there's more. But you know, and I met with these. I met up for a drive one day at this guy Sergio, who's a really amazing, really cool, like kind of. Like a good guy lawyer, like helps people that can't help themselves.
One of the good ones.
Really one of the good ones. But he has an insane car collection. I mean, he's got Testarossas. He got 2 Testarossas. He's got like this amazing old school. Or he's got a Phantom. He's got like he has a couple old Ferraris, and he has basically has like on hand like 10 or 11 incredible iconic cars anytime in his like garage or whatever, his locker. And so we show up and there's like a dude driving a Ferrari. I can't remember what it is because I'm not a Ferrari guy, but it was like a super fast something or super leggero or something like that. Anyways, we're there and then we end up driving and we go on this long drive. You know, and everyone's like, someone has gone ahead to scope if there's any rocks on the curves or whatever. So and then they report and they're like, roads are clear, blah 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 blah. We didn't see this, we didn't see that, and then I have a radar detector and a couple other people have radar detectors. So then they like book in the radar detector people, and then just go on these canyon runs, right?
Oh, so fun.
And when we were done with the canyon run, it was like me and 3 other Porsches, 911s. I had a Carrera 4S at that time, 992. And so we just and they were all driving like 996s and stuff like that, like cool classic, Porsches. And we were just swimming through traffic on our way home. And it was like 4 cars, like a school of dolphins. And I know that I've had friends go like, man, I'm in this car that's doing the thing that I always hate when I see on freeways.
But it's so fun.
It's so much fun. And if you're a good driver, I know the difference between someone who knows what the fuck they're doing and someone who doesn't. And like when you see someone that's like their whole game is fluidity. I don't want to be hard braking. I want to like be reducing speed at just the right amount so that a gap opens up, and then I can cruise through that gap, and then I'm just going to lay off the accelerator and coast for a while, putting it in neutral, let it flow for a while. Okay, and there we go. Now I'm going to take advantage of that. Like that's what it's to me. It's like it's respectful in that I'm trying to be safe. I am being safe, but I'm taking advantage of these gaps because I'm in a machine that can do that, and it can stop, and it can. I've gotten out of the way of stuff where I'm like, I can't believe that car can do this.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, there's a thing, and it's like, I'm just like, and I'm in another lane.
It's the greatest machine ever built, man. This is like a heavy audible car porn for people that are.
Oh my God! They're like, yeah. Tell me about the vibrations and how you can feel each tire.
But it is something. It's something special. If it's something that you're into, it's it's whatever people. That's why when someone's like, what's your thing or whatever, I don't really have any other niches that I'm like obsessed with thinking about or understanding or wanting to like see more about.
Yeah.
Outside of cars, but. Anyway, it is. It's very specific. Some people are like, I don't need to give it. Like I have friends that are like, I couldn't care less what I.
Oh, I know. I have friends that they really do not, and I totally get it. Although I'm always excited, like when we're driving, I'm like, I sound like a driving instructor. They're like holding on or whatever, and I'm like, I know it feels scary, but I promise you, this car. When you're in a performance car, this is what the thing is. Like if you're somebody who's just driven like Econo cars all your life, right?
It does feel weird.
It feels weird when you see a machine like that. You just think like, oh, that's an asshole. I would say 80% of the time, probably an asshole.
Yeah.
But but there's a 20% of people who are just enthusiasts and they just love driving.
And responsible.
And they're responsible. So if you understand what a car is capable of doing, then you start to understand why people are driving the way that they're driving. And that's what I kind of get off on. I'm like, if I see a dude in a big ass car and he's just cruising, I'm like, this is a cruiser.
Yeah.
This is a guy that likes to take his time, or a woman that likes to take her time, and they're just chilling. Then you get like the nervous drivers. They're like every little tiny thing, and you're like, well, I want to get beyond you, so I'm gonna get around you. So just let me
go.
You don't want me by you because the sound of the engine is going to make you nervous. The movement of the car is going to make you nervous. Whatever. So I want to get. But you notice like all these psychologies. But when you understand what a car can do, all I'm going to say, all you people out there, wherever you are, just understand that when you see a car weaving in and out of traffic, if it's not jerky and if it's smooth, then probably a good driver.
Most likely. All right, I want to ask you one favor.
Sure.
Before we go, because I appreciate it. We end the show a certain way, but will you do me a special?
Sure.
As short and quick as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Just knowing the show or like looking at this, what do you think the theme song should be of this show? It can be just a noise or a sound or something tiny, but just because I know you can see something in it, maybe.
Let's see. Hold on. Let's see if we can do this. Whiskey Ginger.
That's fucking perfect. That is absolutely perfect. That's the way we usually end the show, with one word or one phrase. I'm going to take that as the one word or one phrase because that was fucking incredible. Thank you so much for being on the show. I can't wait to maybe get invited to go toy around in the canyon with you. When I get a toy,
we'll go. That's fun.
Thank you so much.
All right. Cilantro.
In here, we pour whisk, 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 whisk.
You were that creature in the ginger beard.
Sturdy and ginger.
Like vampires, the ginger gene is a curse.
Gingers are beautiful. You owe me $5 for the whiskey and $75 for the horse.
Gingers? Oh, hell no.
This whiskey is excellent.
Ginger. I like gingers.